So hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. This is a live project POC. So those who don't know the POC, like POC is a proof of concept. Whenever we get any project, before that, after the requirement is going to happen, right? So we need to, once the requirement is done, after that we need to submit a small application just to specify like we understand the concept and we can deliver it full project, correct? So this was a project which one of my team member got it, and I thought like it's one of the live project which we normally work while working in the industry. It has a unique concept, so I thought let's create an API and let's share it with all. So I don't know like if you are familiar with the concept, like the concept is some word is FDD reporting. So it belongs, that term belongs to the soil testing. So whenever any new road construction or any construction going to happen, so before that, they have to test the soil. So they take the sample of the soil where the construction is going to happen, either it is road or mall or anything. Then they put that sample into a hardware machine, which is an embedded machine, and that embedded machine will perform certain tests with different soil, what do we say, fragments and whatever they might be doing, and output of that testing we get a JSON, and in that embedded machine we can put our API, and that API should be designed in a way that whatever the JSON that machine is going to output, it should accept that JSON as an input, right? So once they calculate it, and they once in that hardware machine, they might have some buttons to save it. So once they save it, whatever the API we feed to that machine, it will hit that API, and whatever the reports or whatever the JSON data we get dumped into our database. That's one part where hardware part is there. Once the hardware part is done, testing is done. Now that testing, whatever the reports or the parameter data we got from that soil testing, that we get dumped into the database. Now that data we need to display in a web application. So the requirement, what he mentioned, like they had a mobile app also, and they had a web application also, because this application their client is also going to use, then engineer is also going to use, and the manufacturer who is going to, what we can say, civil contractor, he is also going to use. So multiple roles can be there. So consider, I hope like you are getting the whole picture, that that's a whole big project. But I'm the base concept, like what that reading the data from the database and showing that in a proper readable format in our web application, that thing we are going to do. Fine. Again, uh, if you are a fresher, this might be little bit difficult to you to process what this project is, but try to understand the concept, because these are the project which we normally work when we work on an industry project. Just an example of this, another like we have various types of project, right? Not just the e-commerce or the employee app or some management project. We have all different types of projects. Some projects we communicate with the hardware device also, like in this, the data is only coming from the hardware device, correct? So that we are just going to read now. So models will be like, obviously this application is an admin model, so we will have engineer and the admin login. Two roles are there. Login page will be there. This application is going to be used by multiple users, so obviously we need to create the users. We will call it as engineers. Then test type, what are the different test types we can have, that test type, because this data, what are the test type, that is going to be dumped into database by that hardware machine. So that's why we need a page to show the test type. Then what are the various sites we have, correct? Then we should be able to create the test, what the data dumped. So for one particular sample of the soil, they do multiple tests. In some tests they will focus on the density, in some tests they will focus on the moisture level, whatever. It can be anything, we don't know the terminology of that. And in one test they are going to run multiple measurements. So let's say we are calculating the density. So for calculating the density, they will perform multiple measurements, and based on the multiple measurement, then they will calculate the average, and they will provide like this is the density that soil portion has. Fine. So these are the things, these are the various models we have, and the APIs are hosted over here, and project API jirasin.in. So you can see soil testing, very small APIs are there. So these are the APIs which we are going to use. UI is already created, which is already hosted in pushed in my GitHub repository White Chetan. So you can see this is the page where we are going to have a site management. Different sites can be created. Then user management. As I said, we will be able to create the users and the test type. So here we will be able to load the data of the test that we get from the API. Fine. We can create a new because we are creating a system. So some reports they are going to get from that hardware machine, some they are going to do it manually. So we need a page also where we will be able to push the data. Means I said like from the data is mostly coming from the hardware machine, but there are some tests they are going to do it manually also, and then they will use this system to manually enter the data, right? So that's why we need the form also. Fine. Now, this is very straightforward. Here we are going to just create a normal site. Here we are going to create the users. On click of this plus icon, this form will be visible. If we again click, this will be hidden. Same concept over here. On click of this form will open, otherwise it will be hidden. Now in test type, we can create multiple tests like that. Let's say test one. On click of save, you can see test one added over here. Let's create two. So we can create multiple tests over here. And once we click on the particular test, we will be able to provide the measurements. So on click of add, what are the measurements we have added over here that will be visible. And this test form will be visible once we click on this. By default, it will be hidden. And one more button we will add close, or on click of save, we will close this also. So measurement by default, whatever the test we select, that measurement we will be pushing it over here. Again, in the actual application, there are so many modules, correct? But just to understand the concept, this is pretty much enough. Fine. Now, the project I have created, so the UI in my GitHub project, GitHub repository for the YouTube project template, this is the folder where you can find the UI, what I am showing you. Okay. Now, I have created an empty project with Angular 19. Again, doesn't matter if you are checking it with, if you want to do it with Angular 19, 17, 16, or any version. Basic things are going to same, correct? But just with 19, we got standalone, we don't have app module, those things will be there. Again, I won't be covering the basic concept because I need to complete so many things. If you are a fresher, please do complete the tutorial first, then only jump to this. Otherwise, you won't get some of the things and it will be hard for you to understand. So I have installed Bootstrap and the font awesome. After installing that, I need to add that link into style.json also. How do we install? npm I bootstrap and npm font awesome. Fine. These are the things by using, how do we create the new project? Ng new and the project name. So basic project and the bootstrap and the font awesome installation is done. Now we will create the component. So again, as I said, I don't want this video to be very long. I just need it to be short. So component I will be creating. So as you see, what components we are going to need: login, user, test type, site, and the test. Fine. These are the components we are going to need. So let me just create it. What we will do in app folder, we will create a folder pages, and inside pages folder, we will create all our components. So let's open a terminal. Let me just close these files. So ng generate component, let's say login. So this is how you create the component. Just like that, I will create the remaining component. One more thing, this is an admin application. So I will be needing, by default, only login page should be visible. So I will be creating one more component that will be layout. And in this component, I will be keeping all my, navbar. Fine. So this is just an extra component I am creating. Let me just create remaining components. So I have created all the components what we are going to need. So dashboard, layout. We are obviously it's an admin application, so we will have a dashboard where we can show like total number of sites, test conducted, ongoing test, status, whatnot thing we will get. Layout, login, site, test type, test, and the user. Once we create the component, next thing will be obviously we need to create the route. So in app route.ts, we have to create the routes. Again, as I said, this is going to be an admin application. So by default, only login page should be visible. Once we log in, then we will have the navbar and everything. So for that, our routing structure will be like this. So first, path. Let's give it some time. Yeah, path. Let's say first path will be empty, means default route we are creating. Redirect to where we will redirect login. Path match strategy, we will go with full. This is my default route. Then again, path. This will be login. So sorry, component. This will be my login component. So if in the URL we don't have anything, it will redirect to login. After login, we will have one more component that will be again with empty, but component will be our layout component. So after login, layout will be your parent component. And all the component which we are going to access after the login will be children of this component. So all the children component means up components which we are going to access after the login will routes will be created over here in the children. So again path. So first will be, let's say, users or dashboard. Component, dashboard component. This is my first route. Path, users component. So all the routes I will be creating over here. Let me just create those. So these are the all routes I have created. I know some part I'm skipping, but considering you already know the Angular, that's why I'm not covering the unimportant part, because you already know it. Fine. So that we can focus on the actual functionality. Again, just wanted to clarify, currently all you know, like ChatGPT is there, DeepSeek is there, right? So again, so many AI tools are there. So currently, market is quite changing. Means the interview process, what was happening earlier, it's totally different now. They don't want to just evaluate you on the theoretical part. They will judge you on the coding part also, like how you are able to do the code. Let's say some company provide you the machine test. Everyone know, like by using ChatGPT, you can quickly complete it. But they want to check the code also, what you have written, because ChatGPT will provide you the generalized code. They can quickly identify, like this is the code, whatever you submit now, it is generated from AI tool. So don't use AI tool if you are appearing for any machine test. Write your code by yourself, variable name, everything, make some mistakes, because that tool is not going to mistake. And if you are directly using that tool now, then you are going to stuck. Yeah, take a help of AI tool, but don't ask AI tool to complete everything, because they can surely understand, or they can ask you cross question also, correct? So don't use AI tool to complete your machine test. Wherever you are stuck, you can obviously take a reference, but be honest, write your code. Fine. Let's start now. So component created, routing also created. Now we will start with the login part, because first thing we need to do the login. Fine. So let's start with the login implementation. Now I need the login page, correct? So it's based on you. Like if you are good in UI designing, you can design yourself, or you can just Google it online also. So what I normally does is just search like login page, HTML, CSS, CodePen. So in CodePen, you can find so many examples which you can use. Just search with HTML, CSS, so that there won't be much of JavaScript code. So which one we can choose? Let's go with this one. It's a basic one. Why does it has JavaScript? Okay, because it has login and the registration page both. Fine. So let's use this. Let's copy HTML. This HTML, we will put it into our login HTML. Then we need the CSS also. So let's copy from body. Now we don't have body, right? In our component, we don't have body, but we have to create a parent div. And instead of body, we will say dot parent. And we have to create one more div, which will have the parent class. So dot parent. And whole our HTML code will go inside this. And we don't need the sign up form, right? So let's remove this, not needed. Let's save and check. But before that, now remember, when we create the basic project, we get this ready-made content from Angular. So let's remove it. Just keep the router outlet, remove everything else. Let's just save and let's try it. Okay, so I didn't run the project. Now we have to run the project. Now, if you are going to use my API, make sure you run the project on 4209. So how do we run that? Let me open the new terminal. ng serve hyphen port 4209. So on this port, you need to run it. Let's run the project. So we have created our default route. So by default, our login page should render if everything is proper. Localhost 4209, enter. I think it's still compiling. It's compiled. So see, login page is coming by default. We don't need this don't sign up account, so we can remove that also. Fine. Now, so login page is coming. Now, first we have to integrate the API. So if you see the Swagger, we have a login API. So as I said, there are two roles. One is the engineer role and one is the admin role. So first we need to log in with the admin so that I can create engineer users. Fine. So let's go to soil testing. So this is the login API and the admin will be only single. So let me get the admin details. I'm just opening my database. User master, this is the table. Soil test. Let me just filter. I will be providing the login detail for the super admin. So see, this is the username. Let me just put it over here. And password will be admin. Fine. So these are the super admin means admin role. Only one user will be there. So let's try to log in with this detail. First, we will check it on Swagger. Then we will implement in our Angular application. Password will be admin. So if we pass the username and the password and click of execute, see, we are getting the data. Everything, the current user, logged in user data we are getting. Now this API call we need to integrate. Now we are going to make the API call. So if you are going to make API call using HTTP client, first you need to go to app config and in provider section, you need to add one more property or one more injection element, that is provide HTTP client. Fine. This is what you need to do. Once you do that, then you can make the API call. Again, now API call, we can make it from the component also, but that's not a good thing. We should keep your API call function into your service. So let's create a service. So in app folder, I will create a service folder. Now in service, I will be creating a service. So let's open a new terminal. Ng generate service. Now, according to our need, we can create multiple services also. Again, project is small one, so we can keep all our function into one service also. That is also fine. So I'm just creating one service, that is master. And in this single service only, I will be creating all my API call function. But if you are in the learning phase, make sure for every module, you will create different services. Fine. Now, how do we make the API call? So previously we used to inject our HTTP client service in the constructor. New thing is we can make use of inject. So inject we got from Angular 16. Fine. So HTTP is equal to inject. What we need to inject? HTTP client. Fine. Then we need to create a function. So let's say on login, or let's just say user login, our function name. From this function, what we are going to do, we are going to make an API call, and whatever the data we get, that we are going to send it back. So return this dot http dot post API call. Correct? Now post API call need two things, URL and the parameter. So parameter we will get it over here as a parameter. So bj colon any. For now I am creating any, but in second component we will create our classes. Fine. So this is my URL. So let's copy this. Let's paste it over here, and whatever the object I get, that I will pass it as a parameter. So this is our function. Now we have created API call into our service. Now coming back to our component. So if you see the object, login object, this is the object which we want to send. So now in login component, we will create our object first. We will use template form. Again, I'm not creating class now, but in next component, we will see the class so that everything you will be able to know. So let's say login obj colon, I'm going with any, fine, object. Let's empty it. So we have created object which we want to send it along with the API. We are going to use template form, means ng model. So we have to use forms module. It's not suggesting. So let's import it first / forms. And then you can import it over here, forms module. And then you can import it over here. So as standalone component, whatever you need, you import it in the component itself. Now we can bind this object to our form. So over here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model equal to double quotes dot. See, it's not suggesting anything because we have created our object with any. But if you created the class, now it will suggest properly. In next component, we are going to see that. Let's copy. The second field will be password. So password, we will bind it over here. Now you can see we are using ng model inside a form tag. So we will get an error. Let me show you that error. If we open the console, we will be able to see one error. See, we are getting this error. If ng model is used within a form tag, something error will become. So this error we will get if you are using ng model inside a form tag, then name attribute is mandatory. So just make sure you add the name attribute also. Same property name, you can provide it over here like this. Okay, now if I save, you can see no error is there now. Now, on click of this login, we need to call our function which is in our service. So let's write a function, click on login. Let's create this function into our login component. Now, in this component, we have to inject our master service. So let's create master service is equal to, we are going to use inject. What we have to inject? Our master service. Then over here, this dot master service dot http, sorry, wait, user login. This is the function what we need to call. This function needs a parameter. So this is the object which we will pass. So this dot subscribe round bracket result colon any. Again, I am going with any. Let me just complete with the basic thing. Then in the next component, we won't be using any. We will be creating class and interfaces. Now, if you see the API called response, you are getting the object. In that object, you are going to get message, result, and the data property. So result property is what you need to watch out for. If result is true, means API call is success. If it is false, you will get the error in message field. So that check you need to add. So if result property is true, you will be able to log in. So once you log in, you have to redirect to somewhere else. So for redirection, we need router service object also. Router inject. What we want to inject? Router. Fine. Then once you are able to successfully log in, again, one more thing. So in the login API, you are getting the object. So whenever, remember, like either you are working on any application, website, admin app, or anything, whenever you are working on a login and on click of login, you are making API call. In response, you will get the object. So that object, you need to store it somewhere. Either you will use session storage, local storage, cookies, or in service, any medium you use, but you need to store it somewhere. Based on the requirement and the security constraint, you will be using some medium. Fine. So we need to store this. For now, I'm using local storage. Fine. So local storage dot set item, our key name. So key name will be soil user, just a name I'm giving. Then user. So local storage, we can store only string type of data, correct? So we get an object. So that object we need to convert into string. So for that, JSON dot stringify method we have to use. And here what we will pass? res dot data, because in data you are getting the actual user. See, so that object I am converting into string. Once you convert, you need to redirect to dashboard. Fine, dashboard component. So this dot router dot navigate by URL method I'm using. And here you need to pass the dashboard URL. Dashboard, this is the route. Fine. So this is for success if the credential is correct. If credential is not correct, we will get false, and in alert, we will send the message. Fine. Let's add a debugger. Again, if you are fresher or even if you are experienced also, whenever you write some code, make a habit once for any task or the ticket you are working, whatever the code you write, whenever you are going to execute it for the first time, make sure you add the debugger, check what value you are getting, where flow is going, everything. So over here, I'm adding debugger, and after subscribe also. In service also, I'm adding the debugger. So you can understand the whole flow now. Let's save and check. What was the detail? This was the username. Let's pass the wrong password. Fine. Let's click on login. So see in the login object, this is how you should use your mouse. You can check what data, if object is getting the proper value or not, right? Once I continue from over here, it will go to the service. See the same object we passed. From here, actually API call is going to trigger. Continue. We got the API call response and our subscribe got executed. If you check the result property is false. So it will go to the else block because we passed the wrong credential. Fine. Now let's just pass the correct credential, that is admin. Login. Again, if you see, password has been updated now. Continue, continue. So now if you see the result object, see result got true, and in the data, we got the data. So now we are going to store, we are converting this object into string, then we are storing it into the local storage. Continue, and see we are redirected to the dashboard. Let's check the local storage also. See in the local storage, we have got the data. By looking at it, you can see it's an object only, but no, it's in string format. Fine. Now, so if you see over here, dashboard is visible, but here layout component is loading. It should render the dashboard component, correct? But why is it? Because layout component is our parent component. If you see the routes, dashboard is a children of layout component. So now in layout component, we need the navbar and the router outlet. So now I will just copy my navbar from my page. So this is the content. Let me just copy over here. Fine. And over here, where we need to activate, because this is the sidebar, but activated component we need to render. Na? So for that, we need router outlet. But if you are going to use router outlet, you need to import it also. Router outlet. And we are going to need router link also. So let's import router link also. Now you will be able to see it is showing the suggestion also. Let's save. Let's save. Now see, dashboard is also there and dashboard component is loading, but CSS is not coming. So let's get the CSS also. So these are all CSS. So this is common CSS. So we can put into our global.css, that is style.css over here. Fine. Let's just save. Icons not coming. Why icon are not coming? Let me check what file I'm using for icon. Font awesome 6.4. Okay. And I think in my project I have something 4 or something 4.7. That's why it's not working. So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this and paste it into my index.html. You don't have to do it. Just I don't want to again install that. That's why I'm doing it for a quick fix. So now you can see it is coming. But if you see the UI, now, okay, let me just complete the login. So we are logged in. So here we need to show the logged in username, and on click of logout, we should be able to log out. So in layout component, we need to show the logged in username. How do we know like which user logged in? So wait, in login component, once we get the data, that data we are storing it over here. So now what we can do again in the layout component, we can read the data, but instead of reading the logged in data in every component, because we are going to need the logged in user data in almost every component, so that will be repeated code. So instead of that, now we can use service. So you will be able to witness another use of service. So here, because logged in user data we are going to need in all the component. So what you will do in all the component, you will again read the local storage data, parse it. So repeated code will be there. So instead of that, you can put that repeated code into service. So what I will do, logged user data, just a variable I'm creating. Fine. Now in constructor, I will read the local storage data. So constant logged data, local storage dot get item. This is the method to read the data. What's the key we have used? Soil user. So this we have to put it over here. Whenever you are reading the data from local storage or session storage, make sure you add the null check like this. Not equal to null. This is kind of an intro question. So can we compare with null or undefined? So in case of local storage, we get it null. Again, they will ask you a question. Then what is the difference between null and undefined? So null is value is not there. Undefined means value is not defined. Okay. Now, so while storing the local storage data, we have converted into string. Again, we need to convert it back to the object format. So this dot logged user data is equal to JSON dot parse method you have to use. And you will pass the local storage data over here. Sorry. Fine. So now in your service, in this variable, you got the local storage data, means logged in data. So now in layout component, you can just read that data. So what you need to do first, you need to inject your master service. Inject master service. Now in master service, you have that variable already created where you have the data, so that you can directly use. So over here, you can just interpolate logged in user data dot question mark dot what it is going to be username. We can show the username. Fine. Now on click of, let's just save and check if we are able to. Let's reload. So you can see we are able to see the logged in user data. Now we just need to complete the logout functionality. Now on click of logout, what we need to do? We need to remove the local storage data and we have to navigate back to the login page. So click on log off. Let's create this function. So what we need to do? First, we need to remove the local storage data. Remove item. What will be the key? So our key name is soil user. And then we need to redirect back to the login page. So again, router service we have to create. Router is equal to inject router, sorry, capital R. Fine. Then this dot router dot. See, in login component, we have used navigate by URL, but there is one more method also, that is navigate. So you can make use of this navigate method also, but navigate requires array. So where you have to navigate? Login. Fine. Let's just save and check if we are able to navigate back. So on click of logout, you see we are again move back to the login. If we check the local storage, we won't be having the data present. That's not opening. So login part was done. Now we will just add the navigation also in our navbar. So for that, we have already in the layout component, we have already implemented imported the router link. So now in the HTML, wherever we have the links, there we have to use a router link. Now over here, router link is equal to, then here, let's say users. Let's just get the route also. So user route, it will go over here like that. Let me just copy paste. Then we have sites. So route for the sites. Then we have test. This is test. One more route we should need, that will be for test type. That is just a master page where we are going to create all the test types. Let's add it for now. We haven't created the component, but I will create. So test type, and the last one is measurements. Measurement component we won't be needing as an extra, because in the test only we will have the measurement. Test, this will be, let's say, test types. Let's just save and let's check if we are able to navigate. So you can see we are able to navigate. See over here, different component is getting rendered. Fine. Now So after login, we will start with the user component first. So if basically user component, what we have to do, let me just open the Swagger project API. And here you have to search soil testing. Fine. So this is an API to create the new user, because I said like this application, multiple engineers are going to work. Whatever the support team is going to be actually visiting the site, they will be using this application to just record the data. Fine. So we should be able to create the new record for the engineers. Fine. So this is the object which we want to send. Now again, HTML is already ready. So that is over here. So let me just get the HTML code. Where it is, container. Let's copy. And this HTML part, I will put it into my user component. Let's just save and check if we are able to render it. Yes, so you can see we got the UI. Now, so how this UI, if you see this UI, we have got the form over here. Here we got the table, and at the bottom we have this plus icon. So how we are going to handle this? So basically what we are going to do on the page load, we will just have the table view visible. Only table will be visible. Once I click on this plus, then my form will be visible. Once click on add, or once after add or update, again we will hide it and our only table will be visible. This is how we are going to do. Fine. So in the single component, we are going to do the CRUD operation. Now, so again, API call we have to do. So we already we have created a service. So in now service, we will be writing our API call function. So previously, I think we have created that. Okay, we didn't create a class or interface, right? So now, if you see, let me just get this over here. So for post API, this is the object we need to send. So now we have to create a class of this. So we can use a site which will help us to convert JSON to TS. So it will create us a class for it. Let's open it. So TypeScript class it will provide. Let's copy. Now what I will do, we need a folder where we will be creating all our classes. So in app folder, I will create a folder. Sorry. In app folder, we just have to create a folder. Let's say models. Inside models, we will create a file. Let's say models model.ts, just a file I'm creating. Inside this, I will put it. Now we are going to create a class. So class and our class name. So this is a user, right? So user. Then inside class, we have this number. Let's add a semicolon. Now it's a class. So inside that class, we have created nothing but properties. So it will ask us to initialize this also. So we can initialize by using constructor. So it's a class, so we can have access to the constructor. So constructor, round bracket, curly bracket, what are the properties we have that we will initialize, like this. Full name is equal to empty. This is the first time I'm explaining, so I will do like this. Otherwise, I will go with the interface, that we don't have to initialize the properties within interface. User ID, we will initialize with 0. And last one is username, we will initialize with empty. So this is how you create the class. So whenever we do the API call integration, again, a tip, if you are appearing for the machine test, make sure you are creating class interface wherever it is necessary. Don't use any. That is just a bad impression you are creating. This is something extra you are showcasing. Like, yeah, I know how to create class and interface also. Don't miss a chance to showcase your coding skill. Fine. So we have created class. Now into our component, that is user component. First, we have to create the instance of our user object. So user obj. Now data type will be user class. See, import has been automatically added. It's a class. We can make initialize that class by using the new method. So here how we have initialized the form. We are going to use template form. So we will use forms module over here. Fine. Now, if you see, we had this form, right? So now we just need to bind our form with this model. Let's open it side by side. So now you will able to see a benefit of creating class. Fine. So this is our text box, right? So round bracket ng model is equal to double quotes. So user object dot. So see, once I enter the dot, you can see all the properties are coming, suggestions are coming over here, IntelliSense, because it is not any user object doesn't have a data type in it. It is strongly typed with a particular class. So all the properties are coming over here. So this is for username, I think. Yes. Let me just copy paste this with all the properties. Role, and last one is the password. Fine. We just need to bind the remaining field now. Password. Again, I think, yeah. So we are using ng model inside a font text. So the name attribute also mandatory. So let's add it also parallelly. So this will be role. Role, I think we don't need to pass because from API side, I'm assigning role engineer. So let's remove this. Then we have full name. Name property also needed. And last one is email. Let's save and check if we are getting any error or everything is fine. Always, whenever we are in the development mode, our console should be always on. So see, somewhere I think again we have forgot to add the name property. Let's check. Okay, on the username we forgot. Name is equal to username. So wherever you are using ng model, make sure name property is also there. Fine, no error. Now we will just show that on click of it, this should be visible. So for that, now we are working on Angular 19. So from Angular 17, we got signal. So let's use some of that. Instead of normally creating a variable and using that, let's use that. So what I need, I just need I just need to store a value inside a signal, like is form visible or not. So is form, is new form visible, is equal to what type of data I'm going to store. So Boolean value. So Boolean, and default value I'm making it at false. Fine. So I have created a signal. Now we will need one function also to update the value of this signal. Change, show, hide, form. A single Boolean kind of function. So what I need to do in this function, if this signal value has true, if this signal has a true value, I want to make it false and vice versa. So for that, this dot is new dot set method. If we have to update the signal value, set method we use. And what we need to pass? A vice versa of this. How do we access the signal as a method? So not. And this function we need to call on that plus icon where we have this. Yes, over here. So instead of this JavaScript click event, fine. And so this card will be visible if this signal has a true value. So at the rate if control plus statement I'm using. So this form, how do I access the signal value as a method? So if this signal has a true value, then only this div will be visible. Let's just save all and let's try now. So by default, you can see only table is visible. If I click on plus, now we got the form. Again, if I click on plus, that is getting it done, because on the single click, we are calling that function and we have written the toggle functionality. Fine. Now on click of add, we need to integrate the API call. So now in our master service, first we need the function. So I'm just going to copy paste now. Create user. Let's get the API, add new user. Now you see everywhere this part up till this your API is going to be same. Just your method name is going to change. So everywhere we are going to repeat it. Instead of that, we can store this into a variable. So API URL. Ideally, we should keep this API into environment file also. Again, method name should go into the constant, but I'm not going to cover that because it takes again time to write everything. So I'm skipping that. But if you know, put API call into your environment file and method name into your constant. Just refer to my project setup videos. There I have already taken it. So you can refer that, and just like that, you can do it. Data type string is equal to, fine. Now I have created a variable where I have the common API URL. So now over here, this dot, I will use this plus, and I don't need this now. Only method name will be over here, just like that. So this is concatenation. Now over here, what I will do, template literal we will use. So tilde sign, then dollar curly bracket. Here we will use API URL and then method name, that is add user. It will go over here. Let's remove this. Fine. So this is how you have done, you have concatenated the variable by using concatenation, and this is by using template literal. Fine. So both things should be available. Now, while when we are creating the user, we are going to get the data type of user. So instead of any, make sure you add that class over here. Fine. Now, so in our service, we have already created a function, right? So now in my component, I need to create a function, which we will call on the save button click. So on add user. So this dot master service we didn't create it. Let's create master service object. Inject master service. Fine. Now this dot master service dot which function? Create user function. Create user function needs the object. So this dot user object again dot subscribe. Sorry. Colon. Now let's check the response type. So what type of response I'm going to get? This, right? So some API will give you this response. Some API might be directly providing with the status code. So currently this API is going to give this type of response. So now for this also I can create a class, but instead of class, I will create interface. So I can explain that also. Interface API response. These are the properties I have. String, then boolean, and again string. Fine. So just like class, we can create interface also. Class we normally use whenever we have to bind the data, and whenever we are using this class to strongly type some object, and that object we are going to use in the form because we need to initialize everything. But class, instead of that, you can use interface also. Wherever, let's say, just an array type you are storing, or just like this API response also, we are not going to initialize. So there you can use this. So now what type of data I'm going to return? So from this API, from this function, I'm going to return observable type of data. See, this was very normal API call function, but actual proper function should be, you should provide the proper data type also. So you are going to return observable type of data. Let's add the import also. RxJS, and what we are going to use? Observable. Sorry. Fine. So now from this function, what type of data you are going to return? Observable. Correct. But inside observable also, what type of data? API response model. Like this. And once you do that, after that over here also API response model. Fine. This should be your actual API call function should look like. A proper function. A function which has a parameter also has the data type, and what type of data you are going to return, that also you have specified. Fine. Now this function I can use in my over here. So now here API response you need to, because this function is going to return this type of data. So that's why we have to specify the data type over here also. Fine. Now here if result dot see properties are coming. Oh, we need to make it in small, not capital, because in small case we will get it. Again, I'm saying like I'm not covering everything because this is the project related video. So if you are new, please do complete tutorial first, then only jump to the project video. So alert. So let's say user created success, whatever the message you want to display. And in else, whatever the warning or the error we get from the API. So alert result dot message property. So our function is ready. Now this function I need to call on my submit button, that is add user. So click function. Instead of submit, I'm going with normal button type. Fine. Let's just test it if we are properly able to create the user. And let's complete the code first. So we have created object. With that object we have binded to the form. On click of save we are making the API call also, and on the page load we need to show the records also, what are the existing users we have. So let's create a function for that. Load users. Now again in the master service also we need to create, but if you see, so see, post API need this object, but if you check the get API now, you might find so many fields coming. See, so many fields are coming. So now we again one more object we have to create for these properties. So let's create it. So sometimes it can happen when we actually work on the industrial project now. Post API might have 4 or 5 field, but in get API you might get more number of field or less number of field. It is possible. So like that, we create two different models. Fine. So I'm going interface over here because I don't need to initialize it. So this we will say user list. Fine. Now, in master service also, we need one more function to get all user. Get all users. So now our method name, what's our method name? Get all user. So this will go over here. Fine. Now, in user service, this dot master service dot, what's that? Get all user function. This doesn't have, wait, we copied, I think. We didn't change anything. This should be get, right? Get API call doesn't need a parameter. So whenever you are copy pasting now, make sure you pay attention properly, because we are in a hurry, we copy paste and we keep existing code as it is, then we can get errors, right? So make sure you copy paste properly. Dot subscribe, round bracket result, colon API response. Now, whatever the data I get that I need to store into variable. So let's create a normal variable, or you can create a signal also. User list, colon. What type of data I'm going to get? User list. Array of data like this. Fine. Now over here, this dot user list is equal to res dot data. Wait, why it is giving error? String is not. Why data is saying? Okay, so here data cannot be string. It can be anything. So in API response, now data should be any, not string. Fine. Now this function I need to call on the page load. So how do we have to use on init lifecycle hook on init, and once we click on init, again remember a sequence. First your variable should be there, then constructor, then your ng on it. Fine. Everything matters because these are like coding review points. Whenever you work on a project in a company, when you are done, you have to review your code. So these are the things you will get in the review. So make sure you have a good habit that will make a good impression, right? Now this dot load user, this function I'm calling over here. So on the page load, this function will call, we will get the data that we are storing it over here. Now this data we will display also in the table. So in HTML, over here we need to iterate. So at the rate for on which element? User list. And this tr should be inside my for loop. Fine. Now here we need the index, so we can use $index. Index will start from 0. So let's increment by 1 plus 1. Then here we need to show, not all fields we are going to show, just item dot username. Let me just copy paste, email ID, full name, password. Remaining things you don't want to show. Project name, these are going to be constant. Let's change. So username, email, full name and role. These two things we are not going to use. So let's save and check. Now on the page load, we should have one API call. Yes, so see, currently I think we have 4 records, so that are coming. Let me show you again. Reload. So on the page load, you can see get all user APIs there. We got 4 records, so that 4 records are available over here. Let's try to create new record plus, let's say Chetan chetan@gmail.com. Again, one more thing, these APIs are free, everyone is using it, so make sure you are not putting your original email ID or mobile number. Okay, fine. Let's password 223344. Now let's inspect and check also if a object is going properly. On click of add, username already exists. So let's say 22. Okay, so you got that validation from API because username might be present. Over here, you can see it is not, but I have a single table for all the API project, whatever I use now, so that that name might be taken in another project. Add user, so user created success. Got it? But again, after user created success, the table is not refreshed. So to refresh it, on after add success, we can call this function again. So new date API call will be there and we will get the data. Let's try one more time. Let's add. So you can see Chetan 2 is visible over here. Let's try Ankit 22, Ankit@gmail.com, password 334455. Now once I click on add, see the record is also coming properly. So because on click of save, we are again calling the get API, so that latest data will be visible in the table. Fine. So we are able to create we are able to create the user and we are able to get the user also. Now edit part and the delete part. So let's quickly complete that also. Now, so that in one component I will complete the CRUD operation. So in another component I can skip that. Now in the table we have this edit button. So now on click of edit, what we need to do, we need to populate the same record, right? So click on edit. We need to pass the whole object. Fine. Just like that, I will create one more function for the delete also. On delete. This is just a normal CRUD operation. See, I have seen so many guys means even if you complete the tutorial now, you are not so confident in CRUD operation. See, CRUD operation is very important. What we have to do? A one get API call to get the data, another API call to create new record, another API call to update the record, and another API call to delete. So you can think how much confident you have to be when you are appearing for the interview. CRUD operation is like, if you are waking up also now, you should do it without saying any code or without taking any help of the previous code. That's how you should be perfect in at least CRUD. Okay, right. So let's create this. Let me show you the update API first. So this is the update API. Again, it is post, but it can be put also. Fine. And delete. For delete API, we just need the user ID. So instead of sending whole object, I will just pass the user ID over here. Let's create this function. Now first on click of edit, we are on which record we are going to edit, that I'm passing it over here. So that I need to catch it over here. User type of data I'm going to get. Now this I will assign it to my user object data like this. Fine. Then just like that, on delete function also I will need. We are not completed. Okay, just let me complete the code. Then again I will explain. Now, so here this, okay, function call. Let it be. First we will complete the edit part. Let's just save. So now if I click on edit, nothing is happening because on click of edit, we are setting the value, whatever we are passing from the HTML in the variable, but we need to open the form also, na? So this function to show hide form, again, we need to call over here so that our form will be visible. Let's try now. If I click on Ankit 22, so now you can see form is available with the record. Okay, now this update user button will work. So if I am in the update mode, now I should not see this add user button. So that also we can hide. How do you hide that? Because once you click on the update, you have the user ID. So that check you can add it over here. So again, at the rate if. So I'm covering everything, whatever we need to know while CRUD operation. So in the next component, I will skip that. If equal to 0 means this is first time you are adding a record. So add button will be visible. With the details, we will showcase our update button. Let's just test this. So if I just click on plus, so see add user is coming. If I click on edit, you see update user is coming. So by simply using that in the if condition, you are able to do this. These are simple things, which this is nothing but logic, right? Let's try update thing. Now on click of update, we need to call our API call function. So click on update user. Now let's create this function. Now it will be same like just add user, just our function call will change. Now in master service also, just like this, we need one more API call function that will be like update user. Let's get the method name from Swagger. Update user. Make sure you copy paste, because if you make the spelling mistake again, you will get 500 or something, right? So over here, I will just copy the API call this, and over here instead of update, okay, user updated success. Let's save and check if we are able to update now. So the last record which we created, let's try to change the name of Ankit to Ankit 33. On click of update, API call is there, and you can see the record got updated. Even if we refresh, still you can see update is happening. Fine. The last part is delete. So on click of delete, what is the delete one? On click of delete, we are passing the ID. So this is the function which will get called. Whenever you have seen, you must have used some application. Whenever we delete something, a confirmation pop-up come. Are you sure want to delete? So that also we have to do. Constant is delete. Confirm box I can use. And here I can send the message, are you sure want to delete? Is one of my subscriber called me, and he mentioned like because of this question, he kind of put a bad impression on the interviewer. So the question was, what's the output of the confirm? What's the output of the confirm? Boolean value. Because if you in the confirm we get okay and cancel. If user clicks on okay, we get true, and if it click on cancel, we get false. So in Infosys or somewhere he got asked that, like, how do you know, like on click of okay you need to write this, on click of cancel you need to write this. So how do you decide like which button user has clicked? So we get true and false. So we need to store the output of this into a variable. So if is delete equal to true. So we write this every time, but sometimes we forgot to explain or forgot to remember also, like, yeah, we get Boolean value because most of the time we copy paste. So when we copy paste, these kind of things happen because we know we are using it daily, but we don't know the concept, correct? Now, so here we need to create one more API call function. Let's copy paste. Let's check the delete API call. So in case of delete API call, method is delete and we need to pass the ID. So let me just test it. So this is how you need to create your URL. So delete user by ID. Now over here, this will be method name. Instead of get, it will be delete. And we need a parameter. What ID I need to delete, correct? So number. And this ID I need to pass over here. Again, dollar this ID. So our dynamic URL will be there. Fine. Now this function, I need to call it over here. So same API call function, I will copy paste. So over here, we will pass ID whatever we get and over delete user by ID. User deleted success. Let's save and check. So just pay attention now. If I click on delete, I get the confirmation pop-up. If I click on cancel, nothing happens. Wait, why UI is getting rendered? No, no. So on click of delete, if I click on cancel, nothing happens. But if I click on delete and if I click on OK, you see one API call. Delete user success. After that, if get API call is there, so you can see that record also got removed. Fine. So this is how you quickly do the CRUD operation. So what I almost, let's say, I'm explaining, so that's why I took more time. But if you are doing it, right? And because I was explaining, I took some more time. But let's say this page, a simple form was there, simple table was there, edit and delete operation was there. So hardly it should be done with 20 minutes, max 20 minutes, or let's say 30 also. So you can also judge how you are compatible with any language. So just either you are working in React, Angular, or Vue also, or even .NET or Java also. CRUD is the best thing what we do, right? Regardless of what software or what project you are working, basically we do the CRUD operation. Obviously, object will change, UI will change, form will change. But what we do, API call, form, get operation, put operation, that is the regular thing. So if you have to judge yourself now, just try how much speed you take to complete a basic CRUD operation without just copy pasting. Okay, let's see. Now, so user page is completed. Now we can move ahead the site. So now I have explained everything in the user component. So inside I will just complete the get part and the create part. Delete and the update I will skip now. Fine. So we completed the user CRUD. So everything like it is working. Now we are going to jump to the site page. Now, if you see the API, so after user, you will be able to find the APIs for the site creation. So we have get site API. This API is responsible to get all the site, get site by ID. So whenever we click on edit, we pass a site ID and based on that, we get the single object. So see, this API to get all the sites created and below API is responsible to get only one object of that, whatever the site ID you pass. Then we have create new site to create new site, update site, put method to update, and the delete one to delete. Fine. So now we will start. So in user component, we have done the same thing by using template form. So now in the site, I will be using reactive form. Fine. So let's start it. Site component and .ts. So UI is already ready. So we can just copy paste. So this is the site UI. This container and this button. Let's copy. Fine. Let's save and check. Yeah, so you can see UI is coming. Now, first thing in the user component, we have just done this on click of it. We were showing it. So this thing we have done by using Signal, correct? Now, a more innovative way or uh, just to try something new, instead of doing this, now what I will do, I will create a subject or we will create a subject and we will emit the value and we will use it, but that will be unnecessary code. Okay, so for now we will just use a normal variable. So in previous component we have used the signal to store that value. So now I will be using a normal variable is new form visible. Whenever we are creating a variable also, right? So make sure your variable name is very descriptive. It should understand. If anyone is saying your code, he should clearly understand what's the purpose of that variable, right? And whenever you are working on a machine test also, these things matter because based on this, they will check the attitude of the developer also, how you are good with programming. Fine. So we have created variable. Now, if this variable is true, we have to show this form. Otherwise, we will hide it. So see, this div is in this div, we have a form. And after that, we have a table. So if this variable is true, we need to show it. So I will be using control flow statement. So at the rate if again from Angular 17 we got it. So make sure you are compatible with it because moving towards I don't know like Angular team might get rid of ngif and ng for because that's just unnecessary import we have to import. The same thing we can do by using control flow statement also. So they might get rid of it. Okay. Now, so if this variable is true, so if condition equal to true. Okay. Now, so if this variable is true, we have to render this div. So inside this, we need to put this. Okay. So if this variable is true, we will show this. So let's check if we are able to see it or not. So we created variable, we bind it over here. So now you can see it is not available. Now if I change this variable to true, see, got it? So on click of, wait. We are checking site one now. Wait, let's go over here. So currently it is visible. If I make this variable again false, so you can see that form is not visible. Now we just on click of it, we just need to make it dynamic. So we will need a function. So change view, and we will just toggle the variable value is new is equal to not of this dot is new. So same thing we have done in the user component, but that was using signal. Fine. And this function we are going to call on that plus icon over here. Click. Let's quickly test this. So if I click on plus, you can see form is visible. Again, if I click, that form is getting hidden. Now, so as I said, we are going to use reactive form over here. Now, let's check the object. So this is the object. So let's copy it. Now we are going to create a reactive form. So in .ts, again, if you are using ng model, we have to import forms module. If you are using forms module, if you are using reactive form, you need to import reactive form module. So let's import that first, reactive form module. Then we have to create form. Let's say site form colon data type will be form group is equal to new form group crown bracket curly bracket enter. Over here I will put my properties whatever we copy pasted. Correct. Now just give me a minute. This I will remove. Now over here what will be the data type? New form control, and we will, it's a site id is a primary key, so we have to initialize it with 0 comma, then this will be replaced by new form control, and we will initialize with empty like this. And wherever we have this, we will replace that with this. Just a shortcut way to increase your programming speed. And over here we need the date. So date we will pass new date like this. Fine. Sorry. So we have created our reactive form. Now this reactive form I need to bind to my form also. So this is our form. So we have our form tag over here. So on form tag we need to bind form group is equal to our form name, that is site form over here. Fine. So this is our form we have binded. Now on every element means text box, drop down, whatever we have, there we need to bind form control name. Instead of ng model, we will be using form controller name. So here site name, let me just copy paste now. Location, client name, weather conditions, that's it. So weather condition should be a text area. Let's make it text area. Let's remove this text box. So weather condition will go over here, client name. In the actual project now for client, they had a separate table also. So we had a separate page for client, but this was just a prototype. So I'm not using that actual database. So here we have the client name, but in actual, in live application, we have the client ID. Fine. Then location, it will go over here, and then site name. Fine. So we have created form, that form we have binded to our form. Now on click of add. So here we have submit. So let's use button. Click on save. Round bracket. Now we need this function. On click of save. So you see we to the API we need to send the object. But what we have form. So from we can extract the value also, which will be in the object format. So that we can do by using constant form value, just a local variable, this dot site form dot value. So this will give you a proper object which you can send it to the API. Fine. Now we need to create API call function also. So again we will go to the service. Let me just close it. So over here, just like this, we need to create API call for sites also. Create new site, round bracket, curly bracket, enter. Again, same thing will be there. So I'm just copy pasting now. create new site. Let's get the URL, create new sites. This will be the method name. Again, so I'm not like, yeah, this file means our method name should be put in the constant, but in this video, I'm just completing the basic functionality. I will create one more video where we will optimize this whole project, loader, right? Use of async pipe and everything. So this video is only responsible to complete the functionality. Once we complete the functionality, I will create one more video where I will be covering all the advanced scenarios. So like moving this method name into constant, in implementing environment file, everything. Fine. This is for create new. So update and the delete, I'm just going to skip because in user component, I have already completed that. So let's keep it. What type of data we are going to get? We are going to get site object. But again, I have already explained how we create the class, so you don't have to again do it. So I'm just going with any now. Fine. So now this function we have to call in our site component on click of this save button. So over here, first we need to integrate our master service. So master SRV is equal to inject. Sorry. Master service. Then over here, this dot master service dot save create new site, this function. And for this function, what we will pass? Form value. Then dot subscribe, API response. So if again, same thing, let's check if we are getting that same API response or no. Okay, so here you can see we are not playing with the API response. Here we are going to get the status 200 and not. So we don't need that if and else check. If the API call is success, this subscribe will execute. Otherwise, it will go to the error block like this. Fine. So here we can say if API call is success, we will get like site is created. So alert site created. And if we have an error in the alert box, it will go. Fine. Let's just add a debugger and I wanted to show you that how you get the object. Now, so this is static data, no? Yes. So currently what you're in the table, what you see is the static data. Let's click on plus. So now our form is visible. Let's say AB Corp. Just a site name I'm giving. Client name will be AB Corp and weather condition mostly cloudy, something whatever they wanted to enter. Now on click of add, our function will trigger. Now over here, see in the value, you get the whole value. Site ID is by default, we have initialized with 0, remaining field we have got. Got it? So here you can see object we got, and now this object we are passing to the API. Let's continue. So now site is created. So in the result, you can see we got the object, right? Site ID 4, you can see we sent 0, but site has been created. So we got 4. Now we just need to show the site created. Okay. So in the table, we need to show the sites. So for that, get site. This is the API. Let's try. So currently, I think 3 sites are there. So we need API call function for this. Again, we have to go to the service. Let's write the get API call. Method will be this get sites. Fine. Now on the page load, again, we need to call the API. But now here you can see what's the response directly array I'm getting. Now in user component, we have created a variable. In that variable, we have stored the data, right? Now here, what I will do, I will make use of the async pipe. Fine. So what we need to do here, I will create an observable. Let's say site list dollar. Whenever we create observable, the variable name, we just append it with dollars so that we know like it's an observable colon. These things we follow when we work on a proper Angular project. I'm going with any, but you have to create your, sorry, mm, is equal to new observable. Okay. So I'm going with any, but you can create your class or interface. What are the in previous user component I have already explained. So just like that, you create it also. Now in constructor, what I will do, I will just assign the observable data to this site list. Site list is equal to this dot master service dot get all site, get sites. That's it. Wait, why it is saying? Okay, so now see here, we are not returning the API response. We are going to get directly array of sites. So you can make any of this like this, same over here. Okay, so in this observable, what we are putting the return, see the return type of this get method, observable. So this observable we are assigning over here. Now we are going to use a sync pipe. So let's import it also, a sync pipe. Then now in the HTML, where we have the for loop, so over here at the rate for loop. So here we will directly subscribe the data, whatever we get in this observable. So this, I will put it over here with a sync pipe. Why it's saying like this? It's not saved or what? Okay, fine. Now inside this for loop, I will put my tr. Let's check the response, site name. Now over here, we just need to bind item dot. See, now this in observable, we said any, so nothing is getting suggested. So that's the benefit of class and interface, everything. You won't make spelling mistake. Everything is intelligent, strongly typing is also there, right? Name is done. Let me just copy paste. Then we have location. Whenever you bind this property, now always make sure you copy paste, because if you make the spelling mistake, data won't be visible and you won't get the error also. Fine, let's just save and check if we are able to show the data. Yeah, so see, this was the record we found. Serial number is remaining. So serial number is nothing but this dollar index plus 1, because indexing will start with 0. Let's save. Fine. So we are done with the site. Again, edit and the delete will be same as we have done in the user component. Now the main thing, what required is, so as I mentioned in the earlier, this application is going to be only required that, what do we say, data which is going to be dumped into a database from that hardware machine. I just need to display that, correct? But again, as I said, there will be some sites or some report that they are going to manually enter also. So we need to keep our form in the viewable mode also and the editable mode also. Means here they should be able to create new test and add the new reports also. Fine. So now in test, let me show you the object first. So in the create test, you can see we have this object, which will be for just creating the test. Once we create the test, on that particular test, we are going to run multiple measurements. Sometimes for a in a single test, we will measure density, moistureness, whatever. So many different parameters they had. I didn't understand the whole, but they said like in one test they are going to do certain number of measurements. Okay, so that they, and when they want to evaluate in a particular, once they open the particular test, they should be able to see all the test different measurements carried out in that particular test. And if you see the create measurement, once you first you have to create the test. Once you create the test, you get the test ID. That test ID you will be passing over here. So this is for one test, there will be multiple measurement. So now if you see the UI, see over here, UI will be like this. So first, both the things will be in the single form. So on click of add, we will just have the test created like this, right? And if I click on the test, a measurement form will be created and measurement list will be available over here based on the tests we have selected. So this is the actual logic or something extra thing we are going to do in this project. Fine. Now first I will just copy this UI. Let me just open the YouTube project template repo. test. So this is the UI what I want. Let's copy. Let's close it. Let's just save and check if UI is coming. Yeah, something is coming. But I think we need the CSS. What are the CSS we need? Still, it is not visible properly. Yeah, now it is coming properly. We don't need this top bar. How it was getting hidden over here. Some class I had created. Site content. Okay, so this class we need. This we have already added. But why we are getting this sidebar? Okay, because of this. But okay, let it be. We don't want to focus on the UI part. So that UI we have copied and we have pasted in our Angular application. Now, so this form visibility, this form will be visible once I click on the add test. Okay. So once click on add test, then only this form will be visible. So let's complete one thing at a time. So first I will need a variable is new test colon boolean true. By default true we will go. So if this variable is true, let me just open it side by side. So here you can see this is that form. So if this variable is true, we need to showcase this. So at the rate if. So all this div will go inside over here. Let's save. So currently it is visible and we need one more function also to trigger it. Toggle test form. We just need to toggle the variable value is new to test is equal to not this dot is new test. Fine. And this function we will call on click of this button. Click. Let's just save and check. So if I click, that is getting hidden. If I again click, it is visible. Now first we will complete the integration of the test API. Now if you see the test object now, just see the test object. Test ID is our primary key. Site ID, what are the sites we created that we need to show, means drop down. Engineer ID means what are the users you have created, that drop down will come. Okay, means who is creating this test. And test type id is over here. So we have again one master is there which we skip because it's a simple CRUD operation. So get all test type. If I execute, see one test type is there. So this data, so we have to show data coming from three different api in the drop down. So over here we need to show the all the site, here all the engineers, and here all the test type. So we are going to make three api call. Fine. So let's first we will go to the service. So over here, first we need the remaining function. Get all user is already there. Get all site is there. We just need one more function to get all test type. Let's get the method. So this is the method name. Fine. So here we have got all three functions ready for to bind to the dropdown. So now we will create three observable. We will be using async pipe. We are not going to need this data in the .ts. So we are just going to use that data to bind it into the template. So always in this scenario, always go for the async pipe. So site list observable, sorry. I'm going with any, okay? But you can create your class and interface. So this is site observable, just like that. This site observable. Then we have, what is that? Or see, on the page load, we are going to make 3 API call, and that API call, we are just going to bind it to the template. So instead of creating 3 observable, yeah, let it be, because we don't have to. I wanted to explain another topic, but let it be. So in another advanced video, I will be converting this code into by using ForkGen. I will be explaining. Fine. Site list, user list, and then test types. Fine. So 3 observable we have created. Now in constructor, we just need to assign the values. So again, we need to create the master service object. Fine. Now over here, this dot site list, this dot master service, get all sites. First observable is done. Just like that, remaining also. I will just copy paste user list, test type, and this will be users. Fine. Why it is giving error? User list. Okay, so in user list, we have API response model, because in the result data and message property we are getting, correct? So let's just skip it little bit. So over here we are going to get the object, but from that object we need the data. So let's add the map operator. So dot pipe, round bracket, curly bracket, map. We will just filter out the actual array. Map. Something we made correct. Why it is saying void any? Let's go with like this. Okay, fine. So what we are doing, because get all user was returning an object, and from that object we in data property we had the actual array, right? So that's what I'm extracting. Fine. So we created this. Now this we can bind into the HTML. So let's open the HTML side by side. Again, we need to import the async pipes. So async pipe we will import. Now over here, let's bind the data. Let me just copy paste and the read for loop. So first will be site list. So site observable colon async, and here property binding item dot site ID, and while displaying we will show the site name. So interpolation item dot site name. It is saying item does not exist. Oh, sorry. We have to put this inside the curly braces. Fine. Now this same thing I will copy paste over here also and over here also. So here it will be on the test type and it will be user list. So user ID, username, and over here, let's see the data, test type ID, and test name, we will bind it over here. Let's just check if we are able to get the data in. Yeah, wait, user is not coming. Let's see why. Let's reload. Get all user is there, but I think what we written over here now, this is not correct. Let's try like this. So 3 API call is there. Yeah. So see, site is also coming, engineer is also coming, and test tab is also coming. Fine. Now on click of save, we just need to bind our API call. So that will be create test. So this API call. So in the service, again, we need to create one more API call. So that's why I said, if you are targeting for a machine test, make sure in one go you are writing all the API call function into your service so that you won't have to touch again service, right? Then complete the UI part, then the API call. Just follow the step by step. Once you make this habit now, while working in the industrial project also, your life will be good. Okay, because the way how you work is very steady and the comfortable. Fine. Now, so we need the save API call. So let me just copy this. So this will be create test. Let's get the method name. Okay. Now this function we need to call in our HTML. Sorry, .ts. So on click of this save, click on save test. Let's create this function. But we didn't created the object and we didn't bind it right over here in the form. So let's create the object also. So this is the object what we needed. So let's copy it. Let's create it over here. Test obj colon any. Again, I'm repeating again and again. I'm going with any, but you should not. Just to save the time, I'm going with any. You have to create. What do we say? Class and interface. Okay. Test date also I will initialize with 0. Fine. Now, so this object we have created and we are going to use React template form. So forms model we need to bind. Then this object we need to bind everywhere. So square bracket, round bracket, ng model test object dot site ID we need, sorry, test name. What is this? Test name, test name. Oh my God, we don't have test name. How come? Okay, I forgot to create the test name. We needed one property that will showcase like what's the name of the test. Let me just quickly add the property into the database. So I have added one more column into my test table, that will be test name. So now API is deploying. Let's reload and test one more time. Because otherwise how we will identify like what is this test, correct? If we check this, so now you can see test name is coming. Right? Let's just quickly add this also in our object. Fine. Now this test name, I will bind it over here. Just like that. Let me just copy paste now. This will be for date. Drop down. Fine. So here test type ID. So this will go over here and over here also because we might have form tag. Then engineer ID over here and over here. Then we need site ID over here and on name attribute test name. Fine. So test date we have already binded. Remark is left. Let's check the UI. So after this, I will add the remark also. Dot row. dot call, let's say 6 text area I will create. So remark, I will bind it over here. Class form control. Fine. Created it by default, we need to send it. Why placeholder is not coming? Remarks. Fine. Now we just need some spacing over here. So let's add that spacing, or here padding bottom 2. Fine. Now on click of save, we just need to call our API call. So that function only we need to write. So this dot master service dot create test, and what object we will passing? This dot test obj we will pass. Dot subscribe, the normal function. Success and the error block, because we are playing with the status code, not with that result property. Alert. And in success, we will say test created. Fine. Let's just see if we are able to create the test. Okay, somewhere we forgot to add the name property. Let's check where. Okay, here it is there. Here also it is there. Here also it is there. Here we forgot. Test date, site ID and test name is there. So now we don't have error. Let's try. So let's say density test. Let's say today I created site is ABCOP Mumbai, engineer Pranjali, density. So let's say initial test, whatever. Okay. Now let's test it. So on click of save, 400 API error. Let's say what? So site ID we are unable to, he is not able to convert. We are not sending site ID or what? Wait, in the site ID, why it is going like this? Let's check one more time. Okay, site here we have to bind site ID, but we binded something else. Site ID, it will go over here. Okay, then I think it should work fine. And here, date should be there. Test date over here and over here. So whenever you do the copy paste, make sure you are doing it properly. Otherwise, this type of error you will get. Fine. Let's again create. On click of save. Yeah, so 201 we have got means test created. Fine. So we have created the test. Now if you see the UI here, whatever the test created, we have to showcase over here. So the get test all API we need to call, and all the tests created that we need to display it over here, iterating mode. Fine. So get all test by first, because this is a form which we are going to open for a particular site. Also we can open. Okay, let's complete the basic thing first. So get all test. So this API we will use to integrate over there. So let's make the API call. Again, we need to go to the service. I will just copy this. Get all test. What are the tests created that we will get by this API call? Now I will be creating an object where we will be storing the all test list colon any square bracket is equal to empty. Fine. Now we will be creating a normal function because we need to again render the list also. So just like this, get all test. I know I'm copy pasting now most of the things. So because in previous component I have all explained properly. So you will have the idea like what we have done previously, same thing it is there. Just function name and everything is getting changed. Fine. We don't need parameter over here. Whatever the data we get, that we need to store it over here in the test list. Fine. And this function we need to call on the page load. So obviously we need to implement on init. Once we implement after constructor, we need the ng on int also. So this was the flow I was talking about. Your variable name should be at the top. After that, constructor should be there. Then your ng on it and remaining function should be there. You should not declare variable anywhere else. Your variable name, function name should be very descriptive. These are the standard you have to follow when you are learning also, so that when you join any company, you don't get that unnecessary review comments once you raise your PR, right? That makes a very bad impression if you are creating variable with random names and function with random name. Fine. Now, so this function we need to call over here. Now, whatever the data we get, that we need to bind it. So over here, we are going to bind it. So at the rate for loop, what was the UI? Let me just get that UI. Just anchor tag. So let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. And here we need to showcase the test name. So item dot test name. Let's save and check. Yeah, so now, but why we got the bigger button? No, we got 3 anchor tag. How come? Get all test. How many oh, we got 3 responses over here. AB cop. And I think these 2 records were there, but test name was empty. Let me just add the test name, because these records were created before I added the column. Let's say test 22 test 44. This is the database. Okay. Now if I refresh, see, data is coming properly. Now if you see the UI, what we need to do, on click of it, this should be selected. Okay. And one which is not selected will be like this. So let's check what's the difference of classes. So just the active class we need to add. Fine. So here you can see we are showing all the tests we have created. So we just need to make it some active. So for that, we will need one more variable, active test colon number we will be needing. So number, by default I'm saying it's 0, and I can use ng class. So let's use ng class so that I will be able to explain it also. ng class. So we are going to bind dynamic class. So here square bracket ng class. Personally, I like ng class because if you go with the property binding, whole class will get repeated again and again. But with ng class, whatever the dynamic class you need to make, that you will add. So if active test equal to item dot test id, if it is same, then question mark, we will have active class, otherwise empty. And from static we have to remove this. Let's just save and test. So by default you can see nothing is selected. If I click on test 44, wait, something is not correct. If I click on first one, we didn't save both the files or what? Oh, sorry, we didn't write the click event, we just added the condition. So based on the in this variable we need to store the activated test, right? So let's write the click event. Once we click, whatever the test ID we have got, that we need to store. Set active test, and we will pass item dot test ID over here, and we will create this function. We are going to get the ID. Let's catch it. And whatever the ID we get, that we will store it over here. So this dot active test is equal to ID. Fine. Let's save and check. Now it should be dynamic. See, getting it? So at a time, only one test is getting selected. Now, so half the part is done. Once we select, that test is getting selected. Once we select, we need to again get the measurement of that test. So another API call will be get measurements. Wait, we need API call where I will pass the test ID. This is see, get all measurement will get all the test all measurement. But we need one API where we will pass the test ID and it will filter out the only measurement for that particular test. So let me just quickly write that API also so that we will be done. So I have created one API. See, after get all measurement by test ID. So if we pass the test ID, selected test ID, we will get the measurements created. But let's create the measurement first. So this API post API. So here you can see this is the measurement API. So for one test, we are going to conduct multiple measurements. Okay, with different volume and everything it can be. So here measurement ID is our primary key and test ID is the foreign key. Means whatever the test ID you have selected, that ID you need to pass on click of this save. So let's create this object. Fine. So just like this test measurement obj colon any. Fine. So now test ID is everything there. Now this object we need to bind to our test form, measurement form. So where is our measurement form? So this is our measurement form. So over here we need to bind it. So square bracket, round bracket, ng model. I will be doing a shortcut now. So everywhere we have to copy paste, correct? So what I can do, this I will copy. On every text box we have this class. So we will search it and we will replace that with this like this. Still somewhere I think we don't have it. Ah, almost done. Okay, now we just need to bind the properties. So this will be, what is this executed column? So again, don't try to understand this property and everything because I got the Excel from them, from the client. So whatever they had, they were doing it, they were storing that this kind of data in Excel. So that only I followed. I don't know the understanding of these properties also. Might be related to that machine. Dry soil, weight, sand volume use. So when you actually work on the industry applications, so various kind of applications are there to various domain. Every time it is not required that you will understand whole thing. Why we are getting error? Square bracket ng model, correct only, no? Something we missed. What is wrong? Unexpected end of input. Where it is saying unexpected end of input. Square bracket round bracket ng model object dot. Why it is saying like this? Where it is expected? Expected identify the property access at the end of expression, line number 24. Okay, so what we did, we copied, right? We copy pasted. So at the above also it removed that. That's it. Fine. So we created that object, we binded it to the form also. Now on click of add, we need to make our API call. So which will create the measurement. Add new measurement. Let's create this function. But in the form, we don't have site ID, but site ID we already have in this variable. So this dot measurement object dot test ID we need to pass. Sorry, I was confused. So test ID we need to pass. So test ID we already have in this variable, active test ID we are storing. And then normal API call function. So this will be over here. Let's create one more API call function, create test, just like that, create measurement. Let's get the URL, that is create measurement. Okay, now this function we need to call over here, measurement created. Fine. And we need one more API call to get the measurement also. Let's do that also. So the function is get measurement, get all measurement by test ID. Let's see how it is going to be. Method name should be like this. So let's copy exactly. We will need the parameter test ID colon number, and this test ID we will pass it over here. Okay. Now in test component, we need one more function to load all the test measurement also, selected test measurement. Get by test ID. And here we will pass this dot active test, because in this variable we have got the actual selected test ID. And just like this, one more variable we will need test list, and just like that, measurement list. Fine. Let's use this variable over here. Once we select the test, we need to call this function means over here. So this dot over here like this. And once we add the measurement, after that also we need to call this same function so that measurement will be visible. But in the component here we need measurement list. How it was? Let me check if I get the UI over here. One 1.01 add. Okay, add was not working. Let me check the project UI template if we have the UI. Okay, so that was not present. Okay, so we will use table to render the data. Let's use the table t head. Whatever the measurement detail we have got, that we will showcase over here. Serial number, then what data we get all measurement. Okay, so test ID we don't have to show because we already selected that. We know what test we have selected. So expected whole volume. So whole volume will be the column name. Then we have soil weight. Then we have moisture content. Then we have dry soil weight. Again, these are the some properties only I have used. In their actual report now, it pays so many properties are there. but just to create the video, I don't need that everything. So that's why some of the properties I have used, so that this only I can use it in the real project also. Dry density, soil classification. Fine. So this will be our T head. After that, we need T body, and inside T body, we will need for loop. Same like that, for loop will iterate on, where is that, measurement list. We need TD. Here we will showcase the index, so that will be $index +1, and then respective TD with interpolation item dot. Let me just copy paste this. Okay, so we will just bind the field also, exacted value, wet soil, moisture content, dry soil weight, then after that we have dry sand volume, dry density, the last one is classification. Fine, let's just save all and check if we are able to do everything. Fine, so this part was completed. Wait, we have some error. Let's check again. ng model, oh my god. So I think we forgot to add the name property. What I will do now, I will just replace the form with div so that we don't have to add it everywhere. So as I said, if you are using ng model inside a form tag, then only name attribute will be mandatory. So I have added div, so now you can see it is not there. Now on the page load, what we have done, get all test. Now just see, if I click on this particular test, we have got this API to get all measurement. Only one measurement is there, so that measurement is coming over here. We didn't add the table classes. So class table hyphen bordered. Let's save. Fine. So like this data will be coming. But again, why bordered? BORDRD table. Oh, we missed the TR. Sorry. We just created T body, after that we added the for loop. Okay, so now data is coming properly. Now, so for test 24, okay, from where we are getting this 3, let's try to save. On click of add, you will be able to see, we will be whatever the test ID of this test, we will go API error. What's the error? Test ID with 0 does not exist. Why it is 0? Test ID is going 0, but how come? On click of it, we are setting the test ID. Let's check. Test component we have to open. So once we select, we are storing the test ID over here. And when we are saving the measurement, we are getting the test ID. Let's check. We are getting that ID, we are storing it into this variable. Fine. Now let's try to add. So over here, test ID is like this. We are replacing that with ID. And in test object, we have got, wait, again, why test ID is 0? It's strange. And remaining things are also empty. Wait, in the console, we have some error. No. What did we do wrong? Measurement object, test ID, and active test. Here you can see I just did the copy paste, but here we are sending the test object. So sorry. So again, I'm saying whenever you do the copy paste, you have to be very careful. My suggestion will be avoid copy paste. Fine, let's try now. So on click of test 44, we got the test ID. Let's pass some value. Just some random value I'm passing. On click of add, continue, measurement created. After that, get API call should be there. So see, two records are there. Okay. If I click on test 2, for test 2, I think we don't have any record. So that is empty. Again, if I test CTD, we don't have. For test 44, only we have the record. Right? So this is how we have done the basic functionality completed. So this was the main page. So see, what are the multiple tests you create, that test will come over here. Once you select on a particular test, you can create the measurement on that, and all the measurement will be available over here. Again, so many modification we have to do. The basic functionality is completed. So if the tests are empty, measurements are empty, we have to show the message over here like no measurement found it. Then for this also we need to make it dynamic. Once I click on the test, here we should have a button to open this form and not. Just like here also we have it, no? On click of it only we are able to see. Again, this form we are going to use for a particular site also. So if we open a particular site, all the tests created in that site will be visible over here. So one parameter will be there, query parameter with the site ID. So if we open a particular site, we will be able to see all the site information, test created, all the test measurement, everything, a single page. Fine. So that I will be completing another advanced video. If you are finding these videos helpful, if you have some of the machine tests like this, just do send me, just like one of my friends suggested this. So I will be covering those also. Fine. If you are new, please do like and subscribe. Just do join the WhatsApp link also mentioned in the video description.